So President Trump just signed a new executive order into effect, and it aims to protect Second Amendment rights. So let's break down what is happening in this executive order, what it does, and what will happen now from here. Now, really quick before I jump into this video, I want to thank one of the main supporters of this channel, which is Brownells. You guys know that Brownells is an amazing company. They support the Second Amendment. They support what we do here on the channel, talking about the Second Amendment and advocating for our 2A rights. So if you want to support an amazing company, check out Brownells. And if you use my code SCHOLAR10, you can get 10% off of your order. As I mentioned in the intro, in this video, we're going to be talking about the new executive order that was just put in place by President Trump, signed into effect, and essentially he announced a new executive order to protect Second Amendment rights. The goal of this executive order that he just put in place is to undo the prior administration's attacks on the Second Amendment and set the current administration's plan for how they're going to undo those attacks. It also will set the Trump administration's plan on how they're going to handle these Second Amendment issues going forward, along with their plan for how they will actually address, what the ATF has done in the past, how other agencies have, acted on the Second Amendment in all the current lawsuits that are going on that were pushed by the Biden administration, like the pistol brace issue, the 80%er rules, the FRT rules, the zero tolerance policies, along with all the litigation revolving around those will be addressed by this executive order. This executive order is huge and will set the tone going forward for how the administration here will handle these 2A issues. Now, the executive order that was issued and signed by President Trump states that by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, it is hereby ordered. Section 1 is the purpose. It states that the Second Amendment is an indispensable safeguard of security and liberty. It has preserved the right of American people to protect ourselves, our families, and our freedoms since the founding of our great nation, because it is foundational to maintaining all other rights held by Americans. The right to keep and bear arms must not be infringed. Section 2 is the plan of action and states that within 30 days of the date of this order, the Attorney General shall examine all orders, regulations, guidance, plans, international agreements, and other actions of executive departments and agencies to assess any ongoing infringements of the Second Amendment rights of our citizens and present a proposed plan of action to the President through the Domestic Policy Advisor to protect the Second Amendment rights of all Americans. Then it states that in developing such proposed plan of action, the Attorney General shall review at a minimum all presidential and agency actions from January 2021 through January 2025 that purport to promote safety but may have impinged on the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. So essentially the date they're going to be reviewing is from President Biden's, administration coming into office all the way to when Trump, took office once again. So that's what they're going to be reviewing. It states that they're going to look at all rules promulgated by the Department of Justice, including the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives from January 2021 through January 2025, pertaining to firearms and or federal firearms licensees. The agency's plans, orders, and actions regarding the so-called enhanced regulatory enforcement policy pertaining to firearms and or federal firearms licensees, reports and regulated documents issued by the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. So you may remember that the Biden administration put in place this new executive office, that was aimed towards gun violence prevention. They're going to review and look at anything that office did. It then goes on to state they're going to review the positions taken by the United States in any and all ongoing and potential litigation that affects or could have affected the ability of Americans to exercise their Second Amendment rights. So that's a huge one because, again, they're going to be reviewing all litigation that the Biden administration engaged in. If they, were trying to protect their pistol brace ban, if they were trying to, promulgate their 80% rule and do that through litigation, if they were trying to attack FRTs, all the litigation that we've talked about during the Biden administration that involves those attacks, all the lawsuits that are going on, this administration is going to review that. They're going to look at the agency's classifications of firearms and ammunition and the processing of applications to make, manufacture, transfer, or export firearms. It then talks about the implementation in Section 3, which is upon submission of the proposed plan of action described in Section 2 of this order, the Attorney General shall work with the Domestic Policy Advisor to finalize the plan of action and establish a process for implementation. Now, the last section talks about some of the exclusions, how this is not going to impact some other things, some other department actions, which really isn't that relevant for what we're talking about here in this video. That was just some cleanup language, saying that it's not going to affect some other things, but again, not important for the two-way context. So the language of the executive order is, pretty interesting. It's exactly what we've wanted. We wanted the Trump administration to look at what the Biden administration had done as far as attacking our Second Amendment rights through actions of the ATF, creating new rules, and also all the litigation. Now, what happens from here is that there will be a review sent to Trump on March 9th. That report will go to him, and the plan will be sent to him, and it's going to detail all the actions that were taken since January 2021 and all the attacks that happened against the Second Amendment. The AG, along with her team, will come up with plans in that report on how they want to address those specific issues. So again, it's going to have a review of all the actions that the Biden administration took and then how this current administration plans to address those. The AG's office will review all the regulatory actions, the pistol brace issue, the FRT issue, enhanced background checks, 80%er, rules that were promulgated, zero tolerance, and a lot of other things, that I can't list here. There will be a review of all the current litigation that has gone on, during the prior administration, which is a lot. There was a lot of two-way issues, especially through the executive agencies, that happened during the last administration. There are a ton of current lawsuits that are still pending in various circuit courts in front of the Supreme Court. Remember that the ATF's 80%er rule that was issued by the Biden administration, that has currently been already heard by the Supreme Court, and we're going to get a decision on that this Supreme Court term. So, there's a lot of things at a ton of different levels of lawsuits relating to what the prior administration did attacking our Second Amendment rights. And the AG here is going to be reviewing all of those and coming up with a plan on how they want to address that. Once that plan is created and sent from the AG to President Trump and he gives his okay, then they will begin the implementation of the plan that they have, on how they want to address these issues. Now, multiple two-way organizations have come out in support of this executive order and the plan to undo all the prior administration's attacks on the Second Amendment. For example, our friend over at GOA, Eric Pratt, the VP, he stated that by planning to dismantle Biden's anti-gun agenda and rein in the ATF, President Trump is making good on his word to protect and defend the Second Amendment. The ATF has been weaponized for far too long against law-abiding Americans, and it's past time to rein in the rogue agency. GOA looks forward to working with this administration to restore and expand gun rights across the country. Now, GOA does an amazing job. They have a direct line to Trump and his administration. I've been in multiple conversations, and discussions with people who are currently in the Trump administration, like Kash Patel, and that was all through GOA. So they're doing amazing work over there. They're part of a lot of the litigation and lawsuits currently right now that are going to be reviewed, by the Trump administration because they were trying to fight back against what Biden was doing. So again, GOA is an amazing organization. If you guys want to support an organization, I always recommend GOA. Now, this is certainly a step in the right direction, and it aims to undo all the horrible ATF and executive attacks on our, Second Amendment rights, all of those things that were put in place by the Biden administration. My only hesitation with all this is that the review and plan will be created by Attorney General Pam Bondi, who we all know has a very questionable past when it comes to the Second Amendment. However, I have no doubt that this administration will surround her with very competent two-way advocates. They will probably work with organizations like GOA and others, to get this specific task done and undo what the Biden administration did as far as their attacks on the Second Amendment. So again, amazing news. I wanted to break this down for you guys and kind of tell you what's going to happen from here and what some of the implications of this executive order could actually be. So as we get more information, as things develop, I will let you guys know. If you like this video and you'd like to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is to like, comment, share this video, and subscribe to the channel. All those things help to fuel the algorithm, and it tells YouTube that you guys see value in these videos and that it should share it and spread this news to more people. So again, thank you guys so much for all your support, and never forget, this nation was built by armed scholars, and this nation will be maintained by armed scholars.